Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Mieko. So with that, I call the March 27 meeting of the PASS group to order at 9:33 a.m. As we get started here, please remember to type your name and library into the chat to make it easier for our secretary, Emily, to take minutes today. Um, and yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. So, for our first order of business today, we've got the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any revisions to the draft minutes from our September meeting that were sent out ahead of time? We did not meet in December, due to just not having enough topics on the agenda to warrant a meeting. So did anybody have any additions that they wanted to send to the September minutes? Okay, so hearing none, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent as distributed. Moving on from there, are there any additions to the agenda as we get started here? Please feel free to either unmute yourself or to toss something into the chat. Okay, so once again, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the next order of business today, which are the officer reports. Just one thing under the chair. We are starting to seek new officers for fiscal year 25-26. So if you have any interest in being an officer for PASS, we will need a secretary and a vice chair for the committee. Um, I'll put a quick plug in there. It's a great experience when you're doing the officers on one of these committees. Great experience. CCS supports you a tremendous amount. We only meet 4 times a year, so it's not a great commitment of time. Really helps get you involved and support CCS, who does a lot for us. So if you're looking for some good experience, please send a message to CCS or myself, and I'll pass that along to Mieko or Deborah as appropriate. And we'd love to have you guys step up and join. So moving on from there, we will jump right into CCS staff reports. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Mieko, who has a few topics to talk about with IP address restriction, the Discovery Layer project, and the Vernon area migration.
Great, thanks. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Oh, Zoom, you think I would have this all set by now? Was it just on a super high delay? Maybe. I apologize, guys. Let's do this. Share. Yes. Okay, so I have just a few slides to share along with the updates today. Starting out with the IP address restriction. So as you have likely heard, Innovative implemented some changes to the remote desktop Polaris Staff Client security. So as of March 18th, access to the staff client was restricted to verified library IP addresses. One big thing to note, this change only applies to the staff clients. Leap access was not impacted in any way. But with this change, if you are working off-site or you're working remotely and you need to use the staff client, you will need to use like a VPN from your library to access. So your IT staff are well aware of this. If your library does have any changes to your IP addresses, you will need to report them to CCS so we can coordinate changes with Innovative. The next update, I wanted to give just a brief update for the Discovery Layer project. We are currently evaluating a new discovery layer to replace the Power Pack. We are looking at Vega Discover, Aspen, and Bibliocore as our 3 options. So all 3 vendors recently hosted demos of their products for all staff. You can find links to the recordings as well as just general information about the project on the CCS website. The link is on the slide. When I'm done with the updates, I'll post that into chat too. Staff were invited to share feedback about the products. So we are accepting feedback through last Friday, March 21st. If you did send something in, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and feedback there. The next steps for the project are to review the feedback, the product data, and the evaluations from database management and CCS staff. And using all of that information, we will form a recommendation to take to governing board. And then governing board will make a decision on the discovery layer at their May meeting. So lots more information to come, probably at the June PAS meeting. And the final brief update I wanted to give was about the Vernon Area Public Library migration. So I will say their migration team has been hard at work. They've been kind of getting their Polaris settings and all of their policies together, and they are currently working on mapping their Horizon data to Polaris values. Also happening right now, the CCS team is building the Vernon library and branches into the Polaris database. So you should start to see Vernon appear in like drop-down branch lists. They are suppressed as a pickup location and in the pack until they go live. Also, as you know, there's no Vernon records in the database until they go live. One of the next major steps coming in April is a test data load. So this is where they will take a copy of Vernon's data and they will load it into our training database. So during this time, the training database will be unavailable for a period. The load is anticipated to begin April 28th, and we've blocked off a couple weeks for work. So right now, plan for the training database to be unavailable through May 16th. And then we have a Labor Day go live again. So our offline period will take place over Labor Day weekend. CCS libraries will come online after Labor Day on Tuesday, September 2nd. The start date for offline is still tentative. So the exact offline period will be determined after that test data load in spring when we have the timings for each stage of the load, including like the indexing and the deduplication. So again, we should have more information about that at the June PAS meeting. So those were the very brief updates I had for the group. I will pause if there's any questions, and then let me also pop that link in to the Discovery Layer info page into the chat. So if you do find you have any questions with anything, reach out to help@ccslib.org. And there is that link.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Miyako. So moving on from there, we had no old business to discuss. Under the topic of new business, we'll give Miyako a quick break here, and we will send things over to Kiara instead, who has a demo for us of the new Polaris 7.7 features.
Thank you, Henry. All right, good morning, everyone. I am going to quickly share my screen. I might need to get access to that. Just something quick. Thank you. All right. All right, so you should be able to see my training leap. Can everyone hear me okay? Perfect, thank you. All right, well, I am going to share some new Leap features that came with our 7.7 upgrade. I also did a training with Molly that's now on our YouTube page. So if anyone wants to access that at any point, it's there for you. But just some things that might be helpful for public service staff. I want to start off by going over some fine tool enhancement. So let me start by searching for Percy Jackson. Innovative has now added this new recent icon, and this is especially helpful in case you accidentally close out of your fine tool and you don't want to relaunch your whole search. All you have to do is click on that recent icon and you'll be able to see your last 100 searches. One thing to keep in mind that this only lasts during like the duration of your Leap session. So that does mean once you log out of Leap, all of these will be erased. So something to keep in mind, but if I were to accidentally close out instead of researching, I could go there and I would find it in that recent icon to the right of our search bar. Something else to note is that it is using power search format. So we see that we search keyword all adjacent, which is a phrase search. And we could see all keyword search all when I was searching through the find tool earlier. All right. Something else that is really cool, so I'm going to relaunch this Percy Jackson search, is that we now have the shift click ability in the find tool, meaning if I want to select multiple records, I would click on my first one. Let's go back there. I will click on my first one. I'll scroll. Let's say I want these 4 records. I press the shift key on my keyboard and I select all of those records. Then if I want to say skip this middle one and I want these Percy Jackson Lightning Thief, I can do it again, click, press the shift key on my keyboard and select all of those records. It makes it super easy if I then want to add it to a record set or work with these specific records. This feature is currently available in numerous tables in Leap with the goal of adding it to all of the tables. All right, I'm gonna check, no questions, pretty simple so far, good. The next thing I would like to take a look is our filters. So this is something that we were really excited about. We now have the ability to add a set of saved filters to your user defaults. So what that means is now you can save your most used filters and have them automatically applied every time you open the find tool. Let's take a look at that together. I'm going to go ahead and click on our search filter icon, this little funnel, and just add some filters. So let me go ahead and add an assigned branch of Algonquin. Let's do a collection type of nonfiction. And I'll add a target audience of adult. Like you normally do, you apply your filters, press apply. We see our highlighted green funnel, but now we're going to go ahead and click on that star that's right next to it. We see this option to save the current search, column, and filter settings to our user defaults. If I want to take a look to see what I'm adding, I can click on this show pending changes, and then we just confirm I added an assigned branch, I added a collection, and a target audience. I click save, and now we see that star is highlighted. If I close out of the find tool and I search for birds, it's going to go ahead and pull up. It's filtering the 161 out of almost 10,000 records. And these are all nonfiction, they're all Algonquin, and they're all for adults. If at any point you want to go ahead and say, I don't want these filters anymore, you can revert and save, and they're gone. One thing to keep in mind is you can only set that one set of filters per database. So those are your filters. If it's what you use every time you log into Leap, then perfect. Otherwise, you would have to go ahead and get rid of those filters to do other searches. You can also add filters to any of your databases. So if you open your patron record, you can go ahead, add filters, click that star icon, and save whichever filters apply to you. All right, checking for
I have a
questions.
question. I have a
Yes.
question. So if you set the filter and you want to do a search, you want to keep that filter, but then you want to do a search that is outside the filter, can I just undo the star? Or will
You
it
can,
always be on and I have to recreate the filter then?
Mieko, the way that I've been doing it is I've been deleting the filters whenever I need to do it. If you undo the star, then it's gone, like for good.
Okay.
But let me test that while we're here, just to make sure that I'm telling you the right thing. So let's say I applied our filters. I'm searching for birds. and then I don't need it anymore, yeah, if we just click on the star, it won't like get rid of our filters. We would have to either delete them for good and then reset them, or you can go in, delete, apply, and then search for birds.
Okay,
But
thanks.
once we close it, those filters will be reapplied. So it's really helpful if you have filters that you know that
Oh,
you're
so if you
using.
close out, it'll be refiltered, not just log out. If you close out.
Yes, these are saved as your
Okay.
filters. So even
All
when
right.
you log out, even when you close out, your filters would be applied. So again, these are filters like if you know these are the filters. If you know that you're just wanting to search by your branch, this is why filters might be useful.
I can see that. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Any other questions? Okay, cool. Then I will go ahead and open a record set to show you some record set enhancements. Okay, so first thing that's new now is we have this load all button. And this is helpful for seeing all of your records at once. Before we had to scroll down and click like the more and keep going. But now if you click on this load all, it will still display, I'm going to scroll to the bottom of my page. It will still display the first 250. But if you open this table, you'll be able to see that you have the opportunity to open all of your records. So there are 807. If I want to see all 807, I'll click on that and they'll all be listed here. The other new thing here is that this dropdown here used to say actions. It used to be an actions dropdown, but Innovative got feedback that an actions up here and an actions on here were a little confusing, so they just renamed this to more. Same features, same tools in this dropdown. And then the last thing, we also have the shift click ability here. If I click, press shift, I can select multiple records in my record set. All right, I want to show you one last thing. Double check for questions. Good. We have some new keyboard shortcuts. If you're someone who likes keyboard shortcuts and you use them often while you're in Leap, if you go under the help dropdown and click keyboard, you can see all of the keyboard shortcuts. But we now have some new things like opening the workflow tracker, an action to print is new, action to open a new menu, action to open the utilities, an action to open the find tool. You just do Control Shift and whichever corresponding character. And then I just want to show you where that lives. Again, it's under Help, Keyboard, if this is something that you'd like to use. All right. And that's what I have for you all. Stop sharing and see if there are any questions before I finish my little speech. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kira. And with that, we will go ahead and hand things back over to Mieko for a discussion of youth literacy materials headings.
Thank you. Okay, I am a slides person. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. So we are looking for input from PASS on a potential new genre heading of youth literacy materials. So some background, based on a recommendation from the Scrap Advisory Group, CAM recently passed a motion to recommend the local genre heading adult literacy materials for adult literacy collections. And the intent for this heading is that it would be used with books, kits, and other materials for English language learners to facilitate searching and discovery. So the motion to add the adult literacy materials heading passed, and libraries are now able to add it to records. And now Scrap is gathering feedback on having a separate heading for youth literacy materials to be used for like kids and teens. So the intent with youth literacy materials genre heading is that it would have a broader application than books that have a subject heading of readers, right? So it could be, additionally used with things like literacy kits. And if Scrap makes a recommendation to add this heading, they are also interested in like some specifics on how this heading should be used in order to give guidance. So again, Scrap's looking for input on potential usage and applications. So I have some discussion questions from them to share with you. So one of their concerns is that essentially all youth readers are like literacy materials. So they want to avoid a situation where adding a heading for youth literacy materials would be redundant. So they are interested in just kind of getting feedback on like some general feelings around the heading, like what kind of materials are in your libraries that you think would apply for this potential heading. So some specific questions I'm going to pose to the group. First question, do you feel like youth literacy materials would include the entire youth collection or specific materials like readers or literacy kits?
I do not think it is the whole collection. I would say you could do books that are like focused on phonics or on curriculum based kind of type teaching your kid to read. So some early readers, perhaps the ones that are focused on like maybe the Bob books, but not all of them.
Yeah. I also have a question because, readers are basically everything.
That's helpful. Thanks, Michelle.
Vocabulary. And I'm wondering.
Some comments coming through. I'm going to read them aloud. We are creating a phonics section at Round Lake. I would apply the genre heading to that section, but not to the general readers. In Northbrook, I agree, to me, literacy implies specific parts of the collection. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Sorry, Mika. I think Sally was trying to say something, but Sally, you were really, really quiet.
Sorry,
And now I
I
can't
didn't have my microphone. Now we're good. So we have a beginning reader collection, and it's basically all books with a controlled vocabulary. Think Cat in the Hat, like limited books. But within that, there's also like decodable books and the Bob books and things like that. To have something, I think that something like this would be helpful, like if you had a literacy kit, but I think it's going to get very broad if you include readers, because what do you do with like early chapter books or, other lower level books that aid in reading? I don't know. I mean, it just seems like a lot of books. And then it won't be helpful if it's so much material.
I agree kind of with what Michelle was saying, that if like at our library, because we just had a grant that was specifically to make like phonics kits and buy more decodable readers. And so I would want to use this heading specifically for things that like fit that are intended to teach children how to read using like phonics or like the science of reading kind of thing, where a lot of readers don't necessarily follow that structure specifically. That's how I would want to use it. But to Sally's point, people could interpret that in a lot of different ways, and it wouldn't necessarily be helpful if it was applied to every book that's in the readers section.
And then a couple more comments coming through. Crystal Lake, our literacy kits are more teaching concepts and not teaching to read. Displays, I agree with Becky that would be the most useful focus.
Sam from Fox River Valley here. I agree with the consensus with what everyone else has said so far. It's only helpful if it has a focused area. And if you were to apply it to the entire youth collection, I feel like that would confuse the adult literacy collection as well, because then why isn't it applying to all adult materials, which could technically be teaching someone to read? So that hyper focus is the only way it would be useful, in my opinion.
This is incredibly helpful. So I do a like very high level recap here to make sure that the heading, the genre heading could potentially be useful if it has a very, very focused and well-defined area. So if the group was to pursue a heading, application would need to be very well defined. And we're thinking more of like talking about not necessarily like materials that are I apologize if I'm going to misrepresent this. Materials that are not necessarily like content or reading level appropriate, but more around like the science and like the actual like phonics and learning application. Okay. I'm gonna pause to see if there's any other comments. If you do think of anything, or you're chatting with your colleagues and they want to share a thought or opinion, absolutely send them into the help desk. But thank you for that feedback. That was very helpful.
Awesome. Thanks for breaking that down for us, Mieko, and thanks everybody for contributing to the discussion there and providing the feedback. We appreciate it. Moving on to our next topic, we've got a discussion about AI books, which are appearing in Ingram and Hoopla and other vendors. And this was brought up by Becky. So Becky, if you wouldn't mind introducing this topic and telling us a little bit more.
Yes, so I was at the Northeast Youth Managers meeting in February, and Arian, who's the youth manager at Niles, kind of thought that it could be good to get CCS's opinion on this. We noticed in both Midwest Tape and Ingram, there's some books that are created by AI, and Midwest Tape did release a statement about that, saying that they were going to try and vet their books a little bit more. But I guess Ingram doesn't necessarily vet the books that are in their warehouses. And so if you're in certain like programs, you might accidentally get a book that's AI. There's also some discussion about there being some potentially problematic movies in Hoopla's Binge Pass, like the Midnight Pulp Binge Pass. Was maybe a bit more X-rated. But then someone said that you could remove individual titles from Hoopla. But basically, we wanted to know if other people had noticed this, had thoughts or concerns about it. And then we're wondering if, I don't know, whether or not there's anything that we could do to encourage vendors to vet their titles more.
Our digital services coordinator just put out a report. She met with our rep for our annual review and stats. And they said that they've removed 100,000 titles that were AI materials, and they're continuing to monitor anything that's flagged. I haven't checked on anything specifically. I know when we first heard about it, we kind of looked at some of the fake names and did notice that, like with the audiobooks, there are AI narrators. But a lot of those seem like they were in another language, so it might just be an easy way for them to translate. And Emily, I'm sorry, I don't know. I'd have to ask Elizabeth, but I can get back to you.
But Tara, that was Midwest Tape probably that they
Yeah, we
spoke
don't use
to.
it. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
The only exposure I've had to this, and I couldn't tell you the source just yet, but I do remember either hearing something or getting an article a while ago where it was talking about AI materials appearing more regularly. And I do think it was focused mostly on foreign language or world language materials where they were using AI to do translations. And we were being cautioned that the translations weren't always particularly accurate. So that was just information that we passed along to our staff to make our staff more aware that, and this could be for Ingram too, is that like, these materials are appearing more often, so make sure that you're reading the reviews, check Goodreads to see, how many, books has this author published. If they've had, like, 50 to 100 books published in the past year, chances are they're being published by means that aren't traditional. They may be using AI to generate these titles rather than writing them themselves, and the quality might be kind of suspect. But that's kind of the extent of what we've had so far, is just kind of making our selectors aware that this is appearing more and more. And especially when we're getting recommendations from patrons, because this stuff may appear on social media or something and it may take off. So double check if you're not familiar with the author, where is the source of this information coming from?
I had a discussion regarding the AI audiobooks specifically in a different group not too long ago. And we were talking about, going into the Hoopla settings and deselecting specific titles that are by AI narrators that we know. Obviously, that's a very time-consuming, cumbersome process to go in individually, and we just haven't had a chance to assign that work to anyone at our library yet. But we are also working on redoing our collection development policy. Maybe we're a little behind on that, but we're finally going to get something regarding AI in there saying that we will not purchase AI materials. And that'll help back us up with, like Henry said, some of those might be popular authors that people have read about. So if we get patron requests, we want that in writing to be able to specifically point them to why we can't purchase that material they're asking for. We haven't experienced any kind of pushback on rejecting things yet. Our patrons don't request a ton of materials that we don't already own. But I know it's only going to keep rising as a problem for us.
Can I ask, does anyone know if any libraries currently have a policy that says no AI in their purchasing?
We don't just yet. I know we talked about it at our management team meeting, and so far our conclusion has been to like make selectors aware, but we haven't actually added something to the policy just yet.
Thanks.
Okay, I feel like we're less behind then if nobody else is doing it yet. Good.
Emily
That's
did say,
what this idea occurred to me just now when you said that, Sam, and I'm like, wow, that's a great idea.
It always helps to have backup in writing, is my opinion, so why not?
and I think Tara, did you say that there's a way to flag items in Hoopla? Or I thought somebody may have mentioned that.
That's what I was just quoting what Elizabeth sent to us, and she's not here
Okay.
right now, so I don't know if we can flag it, but again, I can find out. And send it
Okay.
out. I was trying to find another article that had some lists of AI suspected authors. I'm not having luck.
Yeah, and I feel like flagging would be a great way to have this, that like it's more of a group effort rather than one library like individually taking titles off. They can flag it as AI. Maybe that can let make other libraries aware that like in general this title is AI generated, and you can make the decision on your own, but at least it would raise awareness of the source of the material.
I know in the narrator for the audiobooks, it did say it had names for them, but it was like AI Stacy or AI, so that was obvious.
In my other group, when we were discussing it, we realized with a lot of the suspected AI authors on Hoopla, they all tended to have very simple names. They were all like one syllable first name, one syllable last name, and often with like an adjective of some sort was one of the names. It was a strange nomenclature we were finding. There was a pattern that became recognizable.
Interesting. And I think it will be interesting, just as I've had more meetings about AI. I think some people will argue that AI is just a tool for generating this material. So, it'll bring up an interesting ongoing discussion, I think, as to whether how to vet material that's generated by AI.
I had another question on the same topic, was do you think that there would be any patron pushback on rejecting AI materials when at the same time you have programs that promote the use of AI?
I wouldn't be surprised at some point, especially as we've been having a discussion, like if there is an AI generated item that like blows up on social media or something like that, I think it would pose an interesting question to libraries, as like our patrons are looking for this material. The author may have put in the effort to generate a code or something like that that created this material that is getting people to read. So, where do you draw that line in the sand with like what's good AI generated and what's not? I don't have any answers. I just think it's going to be an interesting discussion that we'll have moving forward as this becomes more prominent. I don't know about anybody else. Yeah, I think Lori, I feel it's a bit like self-published books. We didn't want to collect those and still don't actively buy them, but we have over the years bought some. So yeah, that's a good point too. Self-published, people are going to be looking for those books too. And then Tracy, I was wondering the same thing, like if AI creates the next 50 Shades of Grey and it takes off in popularity, yeah. So it'll at least be an interesting ongoing discussion we have. I'm sure it's gonna appear more and more as AI becomes more prominent in society. Did anybody have anything else to add to the conversation? Or Becky, did we address your conversation to the extent possible today?
I think so. I think it's something where there's not like a clear answer yet, but it's just helpful to start talking about it.
Yeah, certainly. Like I say, I think we'll have more conversations about this moving forward. It's not going away. So, okay, perfect. So that was our last item on the agenda for today. So did anybody, just before I adjourn the meeting, did anybody have anything else that you would like to contribute right at the end here? No. Okay, so seeing nothing, we've reached the end of the agenda. So hearing no additional topics, I'm going to adjourn the meeting today at 10:14 a.m. Our next meeting is going to be June 19th. Just one last thing, Michelle said she would like to see AI flagging, which yes, I think would be nice. So yeah, we'll agenda our meeting at 10:14 a.m. today. Our next meeting is going to be June 19th at 9:30 a.m. That's going to be an in-person meeting at the CCS offices. So we hope to see everybody there. And again, if you're interested in participating and being one of the officers, please shoot myself or CCS a message, and we'll be glad to start roping you in. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day, and we will see you in June.